salient points? Like, what were the things that stuck with you? What were the things that you thought about last night that kept coming up in discussions that you thought about this morning when you woke up? Yeah, what things stuck with you?
Can I have them think for a moment and do a couple of housekeeping things? I'm sorry, I didn't pop up fast enough. My bad. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Or do you want to do it at one?
Go ahead.
Sure. I disrupted the flow.
Go ahead.
So you need to be out of your rooms like now. So if you're not, I don't know, something. And your keys go to the front desk. There should be a box that says "Put keys here" and blah 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 blah. Yes.
Yes, that's all there is. Put keys here, drop.
Yes, you're done. Any questions about anything about that? Okay, I'll just also say, we'll remind you this later, your name tags, I just want the plastic and the thing back, so leave those on the table, leave them wherever, I will find them. Last but not least, I need to, it's a weird tradition of mine, but my office manager does a whole lot of work for us in doing this, so we usually call, her name is Cecil, and we just say hi and thank you. Hey Cecil, it's Shannon.
Hello.
Hello. I have some people that need to say something to you. Okay, I'll call you later and I'm going to send you literature, all right? Okay, thanks, bye. By the way, now that I have you on the phone, she's not as fun as my last one. Anyway, so those are a few housekeeping things for this morning, and there will be a few more this afternoon, but I think that that's it for this morning.
Shannon,
Yes, sir.
just to let you know, I did tell the cleaning people in our building to worry about the disaster we left.
Right, that's the other, yeah.
So I know that we can tear down at some point, and I just wanted to make sure that we, I didn't say something wrong, but I basically said we're not going to leave it like that.
No. Like, that's the other thing is, really at this point, it's like, if you see a cup on the table, pick it up, take it into the dining hall. Like, just, if you see trash, pick it up, put it in the trash can. Like, that'll make things go a lot more smooth. It's kind of just an intuitive, like, thing. But some people are better at it than others. Like my children. Okay, that's it. Thank you. I'm sorry. Now you have time to think.
So what are the things that you learned or carried with you? Yes.
Well, I have something from the last session of yesterday. Okay. The last session of yesterday, we were talking about mental stillness, and one of the things that I really appreciated hearing, because Phoenix Project was one of these churches, but dear all the other churches that are quote unquote normal, stained glass view churches, please stop sending your mentally differently able people to that one church that handles it. It's like to me that we were that one church, and it gets to be an overload for the people who are at that one church, you know, and just to teach the congregation on just how to deal with people who are a little bit different. And that to me was a big thing. Like I really appreciated that because I was on the receiving end, you know, when we were Phoenix Project. Now we're at Old Stone, I'm not sure where that's at. I'm not sure what American Festival is, but you know, so that's just embrace them all as the body of Christ and figure out where they fit.
Yeah.
Everybody, not just the people that seem normal.
Yeah, what else came out of that? I was really interested in that group, the mental stillness.
Got the people up here.
Yeah. One of the skills is sleeping eggs.
You know, you
Be careful.
They're having a hard time prying themselves out of bed.
I was going to say one thing that was really talked about was inviting
people who you may not have seen in a little bit and being aware of where people are missing and reaching out, and to not stop reaching out even if you may be rebuffed. That somebody dealing with a particularly deep bout of depression may not show up, but will appreciate the effort, the repeated effort.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's helpful, because you don't want to be that pastor who's the nag, who's always, so you weren't the husband, were you?
But that balance is always hard, because you don't, if somebody skips a Sunday, but it's also as a new pastor, that was the difficult thing that I found. So just voicing to your leadership who's been there, say, hey, you all know these people. If you think that there's something wrong or that it's not normal for them to miss a Sunday or something, tell me, because I don't know them. I think that they might just need a Sunday off, and that's cool, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not just gonna check on someone because they're gone. But if that's a thing, like, you need your whole church to be doing that work with you, and especially if you're new, because you don't know those things.
Right. What else came up yesterday? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just gonna talk on that. I was gonna say just, and people, like, I deal with depression and anxiety, and we know what we need. So, like, just actions. I mean, sometimes we won't tell you if we don't trust you enough, but in general, we know what we need. So, like, I need a couple people that can know when we're gonna have a panic, you know, and that's it, like, how to handle that. But I don't need 17 people to know that, I just need 3, you know, so, anyway.
Katie, I felt like the mental skills conversation was a great thing to come directly after the Black Lives Matter conversation, because at the heart, there is a shared issue there in terms of what the church is and how we form churches and lead churches into being places that just simply state certain things about welcome, openness, and how we try to be together. So for me, it was a really great conversation partner with Black Lives Matter conversation.
What came out of the Black Lives Matter conversation? I heard it
A
was
lot of free
pretty-
resources.
yeah, it was like a lot of information. Anything stick with you? Whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, something stuck with me, and that was that there needs to be a little bit of a safe space, not in the public, but a safe space for people to kind of process their own like privilege and like white tears and white guilt, closed space. And then there needed to be a space where they shut up. So I thought it was really good because, yeah.
So a safe space to process privilege and white tears, and then a space to shut up. Okay, there's time. So do you see that like within churches, we need to create that? Or is it in society in the whole, or?
I think there needs to be both spaces in churches and then in society as well. So.
Okay. What else came up?
You can't be afraid of the conversation.
Can't be afraid of the conversation.
Yeah, you just gotta jump right in.
There is almost no perfect way to do it, but do it and keep creating space as you do it.
Get used to being wrong. That's what,
We're uncomfortable.
yeah, somebody told me like, I said, I just feel like I keep saying the wrong thing. And they're like, yeah, you will. That's part of it. Just own it, you know? Yeah, I'm gonna say the wrong thing. What else?
The Black Lives Matter conversation helped me to see, that conversation helped me to see, like, yes, dealing with my own pressure to say something and to start some kind of conversation, but to also look at my community in a different way and see that maybe the conversation then that leads us to have is not so much about race, but about class. Class differences and class divides, which is a lot more, like, that would speak more to people who never see a person of color. But that's what, like, inspired me.
Yeah, we like to pretend we don't have any class issues.
For me, I just, do you want me to like, yeah.
How are you guys over there? Can you hear?
Yeah, it's just.
For me, I felt a profound disappointment in my congregation in the lack of engagement and the unwillingness to engage. And while I'm no less disappointed, I'm glad to know that my lament is a shared one and I'm not just, spitting it away by myself. So that was helpful for me to feel the tension together and grow into that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been thinking about and kind of took away from that conversation was just how important it is to realize where you really are in your own process of dealing with it and where your particular congregation is. And that's okay, like, not to compare yourself or your congregation to another community that's maybe like in Baltimore or in Ferguson or whatever. And start where you are. Like, if you have to process guilt about where you are, that's okay too, but like, really look at where you are and what you need to do, not like what somebody else is doing or, or what another congregation, how they're having a conversation, or, they're better because they're at a different point in the process.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I do feel strongly that we have a lot of
skills and abilities in this room, and we have a lot of people who have actually done a lot of work in multicultural, cross-cultural training, and that we actually have resources that teach us how to do a conversation in this realm well. And I was disappointed in the conversation that we had yesterday in Black Lives Matter, because I would have liked to have seen some of that come out in how we had the conversation. And I tried to bring that up a little bit in the conversation yesterday, so of course I'm just returning back to my own issue. But when we have a room that's mostly white people, we can still have the conversation and not have to tell one another, we have to listen, or, if we're the people having the conversation, we can still use the models that allow invitation and curation of the conversation in good ways that work. I think there were a lot of people in the room who know how to do that.
Right.
But
Big room too, from the 2 minutes I was there.
yeah.
Great. What else came up? What percolated for you? That's right. Like the ounce of the, fundraising.
Oh, it's on the floor.
Oh, okay.
Definitely, one of you grab the sheet.
Yeah, it's, oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, new churches and, like, one of the things that stuck with me, and I want to write an article about, we talked about, like, failures with new church development. Like, what mistakes did you make? And some of the mistakes were like, one person was like, well, never have, you have to be full-time church planner. And the next person was like, no, you have to have another job, or whatever. whatever. So everybody didn't agree on what mistakes were, but it was very, very helpful hearing that. No, did you want to talk more about that?
I think we spent some good conversation as we were talking about what good practices, we talked about some good practices about sharing the load and the stress of your church development, but also recognizing that sometimes projects have a time and a place and there's ways to end them well. That is often the case with new church development that and new ministries, that there's not one size fits all, and so some of the things that were failures and learnings differ from context to context, like making sure you're full-time because it is so much work that you didn't have to worry about bringing in other income, but also on the flip side, not being financially dependent on your funders. Yes.
Yeah. All right, okay, so the other things, can, rites of passage, youth ministry sacraments, Nick, or whomever, was it part of that?
For me, I think I walked away with thinking a lot about like, that there's some like right track stuff to it. We were talking a lot about like kind of what are the ways to integrate ministries together, like with worship and those rites of passages, and like how do you take or come up with something that both solidifies an individual small group and allows them to participate in the whole. And so we kind of went back and forth on that and talked about, well, sometimes you can do prep work with the small group that makes the big thing mean more or changes the way they see it, rather than they see it as I'm standing up in front of the whole group, like that they've done more journey to get there. So that's what I walk away thinking about, like, and how do we do that more often? How do we do that with children? How do we do that with youth? How do we do that with adults as we move forward and mark specific moments and rites? We also talked a lot about like practical things that have worked. And then, Linda, you want to talk about children and worship stuff? We can kind of talk about that too. Like, what did you glean from that? Sorry, good job.
I'm just nodding really on everything you said.
Well, what did you get out of it? I don't know. I was talking about it, but that doesn't mean I had anything to say.
Well, again, the practical things of trying to for me, because Sunday school meets during worship, I see the kids for 10 minutes, which ends with this cute little message that the parents always want to see the kids act, and then they wander away, and I don't have any other contact with them hardly, except when they're bouncing off my legs, running around at a coffee hour afterwards. So coming up with these transitions that is a reason to bring the kids into worship, so that the whole body sees them not as a cute object lesson, but as members of the body of Christ.
I always had a hard time like telling the truth about that. Like I served a really wonderful church in DC that was fantastic in so many ways. They didn't like kids. They didn't like them. Even the parents didn't like them. So you know, when we would talk about like, oh, well, we should have children in worship, I'm like, I really don't want those kids or the parents going through that stress. So like, and it was just kind of context, like they expected worship to be a, you know, production. So, because it was a downtown church, and we, you know, well, so, yeah, like that's always such a balance. Like, if it's not the truth about your culture, then it's not the truth, you know. This is, they expect the Kennedy Center.
It was also a good reminder for me to take the long game when it talks about that sort of stuff. Like it's easy to like want to try and change everything all at once, but like, I mean, I was just even talking about my own context. Like I've been there about 5 years now, and like I could almost say like, oh yeah, that was like year 2 when I did that step.
Yeah.
And then that kind of led to this, which was in year 3, which has gotten us to a place where we're pretty good at children and worship. And like now we're like, how do we be excellent at this, not just like proficient?
Yeah. So Shamika, we're talking about like what kind of stuck with you? A lot of people didn't get to go to every place that they wanted to go, and so we wanted to report back about, what were the sort of the highlights or the aha moments. Can you tell us about the techno-womanism? Do you feel really ready?
Yes. My phone fell off my bed and I woke up 2 minutes ago. So sorry. But I passed like a feed because I thought it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, my bed's made and everything. So techno-womanism in the church, there were the 2 or 3 main things that came up. One of them was about the technology in the church and how the lessons that we can pull from womanism, like being whole as a theological discipline that we need to strive for everyone within and without our community, being something that we strive for digitally. So how do faith communities communicate and build community in the digital space in a way that is life-giving, that conveys the gospel or conveys God's truth, love, hope, joy, and peace to the bottom half of the internet? Like, how do we heap coals on the heads of fools and do that in a way that is efficient and makes change and bends the order?
How do you do it?
One of the things that we talked about was learning how to use the internet and how to use social media platforms and how to tweet and how to use the stuff that's already there. So we're a couple of iterations behind. But like if you give a 12-year-old a task to do on the internet, they can shut somebody down in like a couple of seconds in like 3 different ways. So figuring out how to do that, Jesus, right? So like translating how to do those things, like how do you put together a meme that really slams somebody and gives them hope and like throws in a Bible verse, Like that's something that Faith Shares do through Groundswell. If you're not familiar with them, I can also tweet them out. But they will put together a meme or a little blip of something, and it brings in faith and social justice and like really pithy sort of things together. But they're a small team of people, and they're also struggling with how to just push out content the same way BuzzFeed does. So you get something every month. It's really, we're working on it. But the other thing then is, in addition to learning how to use tools and learning how to use the tools for good, is trying to figure out the fear, the anxiety, that happens when you try to tell people, we need a website / we need to fix our website / we need to figure out how to do this Facebook thing or whatever the case, whatnot. So just the conversation about the theology behind why we're doing it, or not just doing technology for technology's sake, or the issues that come along with we need to buy the latest, greatest, but not having a reason why God needs that in your space. So if you are more informed and you are more empowered and you have more confidence around why you're using the technology you're using and how to use it, then that's something that will really make a difference in when you actually do use it, and being models for our communities as people in places of faith of how to do this digital thing well and in decency and in order, essentially. So
You are Presbyterian.
no, that was the Baptist in me. Is it? Because that's what my pastor said. Yep. Oh, yeah, don't try to claim. Like, I think it was in the book. We all got it. It was in the book. Yes. It's like about justice, not just us.
Oh,
Something like that. Something like that.
There's a meme.
That bridge. Yeah, and then I think one other thing maybe was boundaries, healthy boundaries that just came up, and I wanted to reiterate it. As a pastor, if someone tries to Facebook friend you, do you do that? Do you have multiple Facebook accounts? What happens when people are constantly trying to text you at 3 o'clock in the morning? Like, how do you deal with that? So Oprah Winfrey tells us it's like the second gospel that didn't make it in. I mean, powerful. So she says you teach people how to treat you. Yeah. So if people are texting you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you don't want them to, don't answer.
Yeah.
And they will stop texting you, or they will, and they just, I texted you. Why didn't you? Oh, I don't respond to my phone until after I've done my morning worship and talk to God. And so it's a way that
So you explain to people why, you give them a theological reason, you model to them how they can better use their own devices and build a life that is fulfilling, uplifting. So basically, we need to figure out how to translate all these amazing lessons that we've learned in spiritual practices and spiritual disciplines and into these devices, these technologies, these things that we carry around in our pockets and in our lives. So there's a couple of resources that I tweeted out, and I can tweet out more. And of course, if you go to techchaplain.com, you can get more information about me and the things that I can do, and I'm happy and always helpful and happy to help.
All right. Yay. Anybody else was in the conversation?
I had two things on that. I tweeted both of these, but one of them was a blessing of the devices, which I thought was the most bizarre thing. But like we did a blessing of the pets, and
Like in a church setting?
in a church setting, yeah. I actually when I first got my car. I prayed that my car would be used for the Lord. And you know, why would I be concerned about my car, but not the thing where I scream at somebody on Facebook?
Yeah.
You know, like not the thing that can be used to really hurt people if I say the wrong things. And so that was one thing. And there was another thing, and I forget what it was. What else did I tweet? Blessing of the devices and, anyway, I tweeted it. So.
It's in the world.
It's in the world.
Yeah. Anybody, were you gonna say something and you just stretched it out? Alright, anything else?
Yeah, there was this notion of,
So when people used to have like all white communities and black people would move in, you had the white flight. So if you haven't experienced Facebook friend flight in the past 9 months to a year, then that's an epidemic that's happening. People just go to their Facebook pages to see puppies and people's babies, and you keep like sending out all these articles about these black people, and I really don't want that on my lawn. So dealing with what happens then when you start engaging with and using this space to see social justice, so like, heads up, if that isn't already happening and you start to try and jump in, that's a thing that'll happen. And there was another thing, so something else that you brought up, Susan, was about the real space, or like the authentic, how do you gain authenticity? Like, this is really real, this is physical, you can see, you can touch people, but the fabric of these relationships is also layered with the tweets that we send out, the Facebook posts that we make, the articles that we send each other. And so just recognizing that there's gonna be this tug between the values that get put on a real face-to-face tete-a-tete and the digital space, the non-meat space that exists. And more of our lives will be able to be lived and played and worked in a digital space, especially with things like the Oculus Rift, that allow people to enter into a virtual reality that's 360 and more. So bless you. And think of like Second Life, so it's like a Second Life church that I visited on Sunday. It was a beautiful service. And more of these things are happening. So as people of faith, if we want to have the opportunity, this is what I see it, as a way to enter into the public sphere as a voice of influence with these digital and technological issues and situations, then this is a way for us to do that and regain a foothold in that space.
Great. Yes. So we talked about publishing, and basically we talked about different models. We talked about self-publishing, Kickstarters, traditional publishing, agents, and all of that, like how to get published, how to get on that journey, how to find your voice. So we talked about a variety of things for that. We talked a little bit about Unshelved, not too much, but Megan, do you want to introduce Unshelved to everybody and say where we're heading?
Yeah, so this writing, how do I get published? Where are we going to find these resources that we keep talking about but are unwritten, but we could write and need to be out in the world? How are we going to get them out there? Well, the publishing business has changed radically, especially in the last 10 years. And so we're like, well, there's nothing stopping us from publishing our own stuff. And we want to do that, and we can do it quickly and well. We have people who are writers and editors and have all this experience to share with the world, and then we also have a body of people who are hungry for these resources, and we're like,
That was just the spirit.
Praise the Lord.
whoa. Delays in labor. I'll put the baby to the microphone. So, or I peed a little. Whatever stuff happens at Unco, we can handle it. We can handle all of those things. It's all good. We'll make that happen. So. No, it was just I think it was just the microphone. It was feedback. It's all good. It's all good. Just feedback. Yeah.
So it's so radical.
Yeah, right. The publishing industry turned over my microphone. So we finally have. So we had a name for it. I don't know. We needed a couple of those ago. Unshelved, but now it kind of took more of a form at Unco West last time, and since then, especially since our board meeting in February, Carol and Eric Clark and I have really taken on the administrative piece of it. And Carol and Eric are really working as acquisitions editors, and so working with you. We may be coming to you all. So if we haven't yet, we probably will. And because we know, yeah, you can come to us too. If you're like, I have this thing to write. So we're starting, our goal is to start with 3 resources early next year. So we're getting them formed right now. And so Rick Efford Chase has agreed to write a resource on peacekeeping and his peace work, but especially with peacemaking, I guess, not peacekeeping, that's a different thing. He doesn't do that. But especially in the age of ISIS and some of the different groups that we're seeing and different challenges in the world where there are things to fear, but how do we tackle that and gather communities in peace? So, and we just talked to him about this morning, so we're gonna make names for these things too. And Hugh Hullwell gave me the really long name for that, I'm trying to get up a name for too. But talking about what they do at Love Wings, like building a community of this disparate group of people who, many of whom are unhoused, but that it's about building community and how So how they do that?
Apparently you weren't supposed to say that next sentence.
Seriously, the publishing industry, people pay homeless people. It's homophobia, you guys. Homophobia. So yeah, but that it's about community, and actually it's all 3 of our resources. And Carol, you can talk more. So Carol has been doing some awesome work. You probably see if you're friends with her on Facebook or follow her on Twitter. I don't think so. So has been working with the Struggle Sisters, and you want to talk a little bit more about their community and.
Right, so they are formerly incarcerated women who really became sisters and family when they were in,
I didn't know.
in prison. And many of them were brought together with Kelly Gissendanner, who was on death row, And anyway, so we have been talking a lot about the gender issues and the intersectionality with incarceration, gender, race, and so I want to look at particularly the gender issues that have to do with self-defense, with accessory laws, with, and many of the things have been talked about with Michelle Alexander, and they all kind of go together, the New Jim Crow. But a lot of it will be just giving face and voice and stories and humanizing people once again. So I will be writing a book on that.
So, yeah, so those are the three kind of kickoff resources, and they all have the theme of building community and what that looks like. But that's what we're all doing. That's why we want these resources, is we're out in the world trying to build communities around different things. So if you have an idea for something like, and yes, in this room I can think of many, many things I'd love to see y'all writing about. And definitely Shamika's talking about like that, I want to see that written down, and I know that she does write things, but to put it together in a resource. So yeah, if you have a bunch of blog posts on something, this is a good time maybe to put those together and say, oh, well, there's a theme to this, and then we could publish that. And we have artwork, series, editing, it's pretty real, people. It's real. We do not, what we do not quite have yet is the full structure piece of it. So like subscription, individual. So if you have any input on that, we would love to hear some of that. Like, how would you like to see these resources come out into the world? But they'll be coming out in digital form for sure, and so at least some form that you can print or that will be. So
we're also looking for ways to connect the publishing, like the money-making aspect of publishing, to more just practices. So like, if you're telling the story of a, innovative ministry or community, like what funding from the resource can go back into actually supporting that ministry, and how are we, paying the authors and the folks in an equitable way that we, rather than like kind of keeping them bulk for us or
so
whatever.
that's exactly, that writing does not, it's not going to make you rich. I mean, it could if you
making the guy on top rich.
Right,
Wow.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what we want to do, is be able to pay the people who are writing this. Yeah, instead of you getting 3% and Uncle getting, everything. That's not how this is going. We want to be able to, actually give a little bit, but it's your words. You deserve to be paid for them. So that's the other piece of it, is just being equitable. I cannot speak Spanish. Equitable mind. I don't know what I'm trying to say. We're trying to be fair.
Yeah. So under 100 pages is what we're going for. We're finding that pastors only read the first chapter and last chapter anyways. So it would just be for pastors, but we're really looking at, pastors, people who are church leaders, and Rick was really, was talking to us very much interfaith. This is not a Presbyterian thing. It's not a Presbyterian thing. But we're not here to save the institution, any of them. But anyway, So if you have any questions about it, I'm going to talk about that and also Funco and the breakout. Funco, I'll just bring it up now. It is also something that came out of West, and people would really love to be, West people would really love for East to be involved. What we're doing is, so I grew up Baptist. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we would have like, I trained to be a missionary, wanted to be a missionary. And we would have missionary organizations. And so I would go to these hotels and have this like dry chicken dinner and like hear all of these amazing stories about, you know, what people were doing overseas. And it was beautiful, and we would cry and give lots of money. So I also was at Miriam's Kitchen in Washington, D.C., where they were super fun. They would have great fundraisers, you know, big fundraisers for big donors and little fundraisers for everybody. It was more about like building community and getting people involved, and super fun. Social media, you know, I helped them a lot, like form their social media outreach and how we can raise money online. So, anyways, you know, I have these two things sort of in mind, and we all have ministries, creative ministries, that most of us need money, need funding, need other sources. So the question is, can we come together and say, check out Abby Huff, she's starting this brewery, and it's amazing, and this is, you know, this is Abby, and this is what she's doing, and this is the cool stuff that's going on. Can we, like, go to Wild Goose? Can we go to where our assemblies meet and set up a fun party, have fun, tell our stories, raise some money? So that's something else we're working on. I know CPR is working on something similar. And I've heard different things about them, and we're talking about like, well, maybe they're working on more of the big stuff, and we would be
Ours is like an online party.
Online party.
Yeah. So Convergence is gonna have a website that's crowdfunding for ministries, and it will have a main page, but it will also break out into denominational sectors, so that, and I can imagine maybe you could like talk to Kim, but what would it be like to to have something, right?
Yeah.
That you could, I mean, because maybe you could show up in the Episcopal, Lutheran, Presbyterian, and Uncut, right? Like, and I don't know if you could go, like, if you could go across and be in multiple spaces in it. Yeah.
So I'm not sure, like, if to make this a breakout group, or if you are if you want to be part of this collective, if you just want to talk to us, or what. But that's what's going on. Basically, we meet every month over Skype, and it's also been kind of like a really good place for practitioners to come together and, you know, talk about some of the real shit that goes down. So a lot of times, like, we gotta act like it's all great because we gotta raise money around it, but then, you know, it's kind of hard. All right, so.
But there's a lot of potential. On that note, which is like why I interrupted, is if you didn't hear, we raised $1,174. Out of stuff people brought and donated.
I love beautiful.
And some people got some incredible deals.
No.
I'm so jealous that Beck is going to NCLI for like $35. So that just shows you what we're capable of when we work together on this kind of thing. Like, out of this group of people, we can raise that kind of money. So what can
And
we
by
do?
this group of people, you mean poor.
Lots of poor.
Yes.
Great. Hey, Joe, denominational communities, what came out of that?
Okay, I actually want those two guys to talk about that, and then I want to give one last shameless plug, and then I gotta go in like 5 minutes.
Okay, great.
So, and that's all.
Anything?
Interfaith, you guys are doing the thing.
Yeah, well, our church has been really active. We have a very thriving interfaith community in our Rockaway Township in Monroe. Actually, there's a new initiative called Interfaith Neighborhood. That's a formal organization, and we have 2 mosques, one in our town and one in northern border town of Boone, and 2 Jewish temples and a couple Catholic churches, Methodist, Lutheran, we're the only Presbyterian. And we essentially came into being after 9/11. We invited local mosques to come tell us about Islam and what their faith is about, because we were seeing, we saw on TV about the faith of Islam, that we wanted to meet our neighbors. And a lot of stuff came out of that. We had a meeting and we still did some shared mission. Actually, what came out of that, in one way, was another church General Assembly that passed the Muslim Interfaith Overture in 2008 in San Jose. He from our church to our Presbyterian campus. And it meant a lot to them, our Muslim partners. And where we go from here, I'm not sure. We're actually talking about physical brick and mortar shared mission, like something like Abraham's Closet, Abraham's Pantry. Talking about partnering up, and we have a food pantry in our church that we host. They're a separate nonprofit, and we hold a dream of expanding on that into a, not in our building, but somewhere in downtown, food pantry and first store, which is a model that works in our area.
Yeah, that's how Miriam's Kitchen was started. It was Jewish, Muslim, Christian, and so we wanted Miriam.
And it's one of those 3 faiths too. We have some Buddhists, we have some Hindu members,
Great.
other temples that do stuff with us. And we even hosted a Presbyterian event at Abraham's Table, where the 3 faiths came and Abraham's Table is essentially something where you get people to 3 Abrahamic faiths, and they share their scriptural view of basic stuff like loving your neighbor, or giving to the needy, and what their Holy Scripture says about it. Christians, Jews, some overlap there, obviously, and you'll find some surprising similarities. And among our faiths, but also one of the important things is not to also all over, everybody loves everything. It's just there are differences, and it's very healthy to recognize them and talk about them. And this true peacemaking means becoming vulnerable, but also seeing things from your neighbor's point of view. And that's part of loving your neighbor in our eyes, is seeing their viewpoint. You don't have to lose your faith in organization like that to exalt someone else's theirs.
Right.
You have to try to improve it. That's how we know.
Steve.
I think, as I recall, one of the overarching themes of our conversation was about being intentional in putting yourselves in positions where organic relationships can evolve, as opposed to trying to force the relationship, the interfaith relationship, around issues, or but to just to allow yourself to come together and the relationship builds in such a way it doesn't, not to force it. We have lots of examples of where that organic relationship, how it's able to evolve, but doing nothing will be opportunity.
Great. Shameless plug?
Shameless plug. So I just tweeted a bunch of stuff about the Church Planters Conference, and since I have to go and plant a church this evening, I'm gonna skedaddle out of here. But the conference is in October, and if I tell people, then I only can tell the people that I know. But if everybody in this room tells a couple of people, then church planters who would really love to have something like this, who are like dying for somebody else to hear their stories and give them help, can come and do this kind of thing. So if you know a church planter in your life, send them the information. Help me by allowing me to piggyback on your amazing social skills and network. I would really, really appreciate that.
Great.
So.
And a lot of people have asked, like, can we start an UNCO and blah, blah, blah. This is a model that we don't own, we don't wanna own it. This is, no, we want to share and grow and love and be generative, and so.
Yeah, so this one I
Talk-
told
just
a
talk to
different
us.
flavor. But, yeah, I told you guys, but it'll have a different
No,
flavor.
well, I wasn't meant you, I was before you. I was like, if you wanna start one, just talk.
Right.
Yeah, like if you need help or support, we're happy to do whatever you need. So, thank you.
Don't plan a church, you'll be done by like midnight.
Okay.
Make sure you get lots of water and sun.
So Meredith, praise and worship, conversation, anything? Yeah.
Praise and worship was fascinating to me. There was some research sharing. I didn't have a specific question. I didn't get a specific answer. But the five of us that joined the conversation, I think just, for me anyway, just helped me process thoughts. And somebody who I was just saying, a wise person once said, when I leave, and it wasn't you this time, when I leave UNCO, I have better questions. Like I'm taking the next step in figuring out what it is I've been talking about. And so that is, I don't think there was much, there was some, my brain is really gone. But there was a glue, it's the glue. There were some good resources shared, especially the people doing good progressive worship music that's also crazy. Somebody was sharing, anyway, people were sharing stuff. I think somebody got tweeted. So if you really want to know, when I have my notes and you can't look really, just say, hey, what was that? Brian Leverage. Leverage. We talked about Brian Leverage.
Leverage?
Maybe. He's a musician that plays good praise music.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's what we learned.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of stuff that's like really needed. So Rick Upper Chase was talking this morning about how they're brainstorming about starting something here. I know Brian Circio is starting something, which is interesting. So yeah, just keep talking.
We also wrote a song about God. And writing hymn with Jim and.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Did you ask a lot about like
And
God's
treadmill. Hills is a treadmill.
When I need a shim.
All right, incarceration, prisons, etc. That was basically me and Abby, but it was a great conversation. So if you want to talk about that later, you have to. Hand wringing, tea leaves, millennial conversation.
I have one more thing about the incarcerated thing. So in a lot of areas around the country, there's coalitions and groups forming grassroots organizations that are doing work around ban the box and getting certain bills passed that will reduce mandatory sentencing. There's a bill.
So can you explain ban the box?
Yes, ban the box is the box that one would have to check on an application that says, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Okay.
Is usually what it says. And the Presbyterian Church has gotten rid of it. A lot of companies have gotten rid of it. New York City has gotten rid of it on all of their government and city stuff, and any contract company that works with them.
Because New York City's run by a bunch of crooks.
Well played. Cleveland has also just passed.
Awesome. So it's starting to gain momentum. You have to do a lot of organizing to get businesses on board because they're like, well, I don't know. It's easier, I don't want to hire a criminal. And you have to do the work of having that conversation. but there's a lot of organizations. So I would encourage you to look up organizations and grassroots movements in your area that are doing work around this. There's protests and all kinds of other stuff. But the other thing is that there's a bill coming to Congress in the fall called the Smarter Sentencing Act. And I forgot to bring the pieces of paper, but I'll post it on Facebook. And it's to reduce mandatory sentencing and get rid of detention bed quotas. And it has bipartisan support. And so even though it's sort of like a higher level, if we could get that passed, it would make a huge difference in terms of how many people are in prison and staying in prison. So I'll pass on information, but call your Congress people and make that happen.
And please, do it or tweet it, give us some love on this. I ask of you. When it comes up. So, we talked about Black Lives Matter, mental skillness, fundraising. Ryan.
We talk about how hard it is and how there's actually money available if organizations could make their case and set a vision and invite people to participate. There's a lot of different ways of fundraising, but one of the things that churches do terribly is fundraise. And talk about it behind words like stewardship, which is really not what stewardship is. Stewardship is taking care of someone else's property, but stewards in the Bible didn't take care of raising money. We look at how the old models of fundraising, of passing the plate aren't really effective, and how there's many more nonprofits competing for your money than ever before. So in order to get ahead of fundraising, what's interesting is that nonprofits look at people who work in the church and they say, you have it easy. You should have it easy because you meet with your funders every week. You have the best message, this transcendent thing, and you do it so terrible. And that's one of the things we're struggling with, is how do we communicate our vision and our passion in a way that invites people to look at fundraising as not something that takes place once a month in the year, but something that is a spiritual practice, giving of money, not time and talent, that's a whole other thing. So actually giving your money, giving money that you make, it's a spiritual practice along the lines of prayer or service or mission or walking the labyrinth, and how it has a transformative effect on you, the giver, as well as the giving, if it's a more integrated relationship than how we tend to do it. And no one wants to hear your plea for money, right? But they don't want to do that. You want to give awesome things.
We're gonna go out of business for 10 years, and throw money into our secret shit. All right. Anyone want to add to that? All right. Meta Unco. Shannon.
Sorry, it was money.
Meta Unco. So we met to talk about some of the changes over the last 6 years, well, some of the progress in the last 6 years, some of the things that we've learned, some of the things of where we are going, and got some feedback about just some questions that we had in terms of what do you all want to see, or what the people in the room. And it was actually a great mix of older,
longer term participants.
right.
And
We newer and older, I don't know, words. So it was good. I've still been thinking about some of the conversation. I don't know how to present that really clear without getting into the whole discussion. So I just will say, I think the 3 board members in the room, it was a really good conversation for us. So if you have any more thoughts on that, I will say, we've talked a little bit about the 2 of the 4 areas. And of course, the actual unconscious is a third of one of those. But the 4th is unburdened, which is still in its seedling form. And it's a huge need for us, which is the pastoral care portion.
Of each other.
For our community, pastoral care for our Unco community specifically. And we do need some help with that.
but at the same time, it's just this kind of, I don't know. So, if you want to hear more about Meta, which is now just what I'm gonna call it, Mo Meta Unco, then, you know, you can talk to any of us. Specifically, I will add that if you're looking, like Katie Jo, to like recreate the model, like, I'm kind of the person to come talk to. Not that any of us can talk about it, but the board's kind of, we all kind of got our.
That's her area.
We all kind of got our jobs when I was
They
flying.
need the checkbook.
We gave Nick the money because he's the only one of us that has any.
Okay, Christian atheism, quickly, do you guys have anything, Christian atheism?
Just that we noticed that it was all men.
It's all men, interesting.
And we talked about that for a moment, wondering
If you're women.
because we are in a privileged position, if we can step away from what is, you know, and take that risk, because in many ways, we're risking less to take, you know, to step outside of the traditional beliefs, whereas perhaps other female counterparts cannot take that risk because they're already risking other things to be in the position. That was one of the things that came up while we were there.
We're going to go through the hamburger party.
Finally, all.
Alright, so this next part, we're gonna, see what has legs, and basically, like, you have been talking about different things. Some of you still need to talk about things. Some of you want to do something. So, like, you want to do more on techno-womanism. You want to do more on just certain areas and aspects or something came up that had nothing to do with the breakout groups, but you would love to talk more or do more on something. And so basically, what I want you to do for this discussion is name a project or name a discussion. If it is an item that is an actionable item, then I want you to think about who you want around the table, what you want to do specifically, and how you want to do it. And the way that this works is sometimes we gather together and we talk about these things and we hash them out and we have these great big dreams and then you know the next day everything kind of fizzles, or the next month, you know, everything kind of fizzles. We don't know what happened. And then sometimes it gets resurrected the next year and it goes off. Or sometimes things come out of this, like one of the first years, there was a lectionary blog that came out of it. Wait, what's it called now? I have a brain fart. The lectionary blog. I mean, anyways, this great, you can't think of it either? It's so weird. Anyway, so do you know what I'm talking about?
Worship stuff.
Yeah, I do too. What is this? It's like it's great. So like Laura Becker and Anna James and Terry Peterson, like they came up. Oh, thank you. So, you know, it was like 6 years ago. So blogs were new. What?
I just didn't hear. What did you say?
Liturgy Link. Liturgy
It's
Link.
a great place to put and share resources. I steal pastoral prayers from there all the time.
I do too. It's a great resource. But you know, things like Liturgy Link, things like Mercy Junction came out of this. Things like Wolfenden Scars Church. She had been thinking about planning a church for a long time, kind of at UNCO. She was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start it today. Or things like Sanctuary for the Arts was the same sort of thing. So So this is like the time where you go, okay, we've had this time together, we've, talked a lot and had a lot of great ideas, shared a lot of knowledge. What can we do actionable moving forward? How do we do this? So
And that gives me a
that's it.
really great chance to plug something that we've been forgetting to plug, which is Worship Times.
Oh, Worship
Worshiptimes.org. Michael Gyra is one of our board members. He's an awesome UNCO participant.
He's the president.
Is a ridiculous.
He's the chair.
Yeah, he's the chair.
Excuse me.
President, chair, whatever.
He's
But he is ridiculously generous when it comes to things. So Two Friars and a Fool is hosted by Michael Gyra.
As is the UNCO website.
As is the UNCO website. But ours is for free because we were here at UNCO and we were like bitching and moaning and complaining about how awful our managing our site was. And he, in a half an hour over lunch, transferred everything to his server and then fixed it all and then was like, we're like, what do we owe you? And he's like, keep doing what you're doing.
We forgot.
Yes. But anyways, I forgot to put into the silent auction on his behalf a free startup cost for a website. So if you are a person, if you are,
No, seriously, keep going.
Yeah. We got 10. We have 10.
Behind you,
30 bucks, 60, 70, 75. 100 in the back.
110.
110.
150.
150.
175.
$240 going twice.
What was your top three bid? What were your top?
240, 235, and 232.
All right, well, wait. You'll all, if you
Well,
can
we don't
pay
need
that.
to.
If you can pay
Okay,
that.
so if you pay
I'm
what
making
you-
an executive decision on behalf of Michael that he's gonna be willing to do this.
So Sarah and Catherine both walked away with your last bid.
Yes.
Okay, so you can change that total now.
I love that entire interaction.
Right, exactly, but like, let's do this thing.
Done.
It might be like one of my favorite uncut moments.
Right?
It's so
History books.
What has legs? An auction.
The other side of bringing that up is if in your conversation you realize that we really need a website for this.
Yes.
Michael will probably create that as a gesture towards you as
Yeah.
on the thing.
If you have some money later on, you can gesture back.
Maybe. We still don't have any money as prior, so we don't gesture that.
So the reason that I just did that, I don't know why Jen just did that, but why I just did that was because what I've been thinking, we're trying to figure out what the next thing the Slate project could do or be was, and it feels like it could be a good idea, or there might be a need for a place to network the networks, or to network across denominations, all the stuff that we are doing, so that we can find out about each other than when we get together in places like this.
Yeah.
And to be sharing the resources, and an easy place for us all to kind of gather. And by us, I think I mean progressive Protestant reimaginers of church. Not the convergence. I'm just thinking, like, Convergence is gonna be way big up here, right? I'm thinking, like, maybe down, like, if you guys, FundCo is the fundraising bit, then maybe we're the, I don't know what else part, but, so that, and if maybe people wanna talk about, like, what would be helpful in a website like that, I would be willing to have that conversation.
So Sarah, you wanna, network the networks?
Yeah.
Who else? Anything else percolating?
I don't know if there's any interest. Are we brainstorming for?
Yeah, we're putting it, we gotta do it like in 5 minutes.
Entrepreneurial ministry, anyone who wants to start a business and or something entrepreneurial alongside.
Right, yeah.
Okay, cool.
You need to go to that. That's just good now.
Okay, anyone else? Anything else? We done? Yes?
Just not a traction thing for this, but I've been doing a lot of work with a group called Isaiah's Table, which has been here before.
They're one of us.
About how a very innovative group can work together with a very top-down system so that they can become tax exempt under the umbrella of Presbyterian Church. So I've been kind of a policy link for that.
Good.
And I'd be happy to talk with anybody who needs that kind of brainstorming about how to get systems and new stuff together in terms of policy.
So where do you wanna have, or where do you wanna be available?
I mean, I just email me, we don't need to have a group.
Hey, Steve, might need to talk to you about helping us do that for Uncode.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We actually need to figure out a way to sort of get to 501(c) status. And it's like $4,000.
Yeah.
It's a rate, but sure.
I think we just.
Well,
Right, anyone else? So you talked to Steve. Anyone else? All right. So conference room A here, networks. Conference room B, their entrepreneurial ministries. I can talk about, if you have any questions about FundCo or Unshelved. Or even just fun. Or even
That was fun.
This is about fun.
A few in the,
Why don't you just call it?
The D is silent.
The D is silent.
that's not like what we're gonna end up with, like we
But that doesn't say us to raise the bids to
And the D stands for dollar.
Yeah.
Oh, you should make it.
Which is why the dollar is silent.
It's silent.
No, I like silent money, silent money, okay. So I will be in the cafeteria. All right.
Yeah, but we only, wait, there's only 1 hour.
Yes. Yes, those
Make it
right
right
now, it's cafeteria.
Oh, cafeteria.
Where's Steve? We're taking a time. Steve will be anywhere. And if you want to hang out with Kid Unco, we'll be in the Kid Unco room. We'd love to have you.
Are you, all right, I'll do this.